Welcome to the Verse, citizen. My name is Drew Wager, a lifelong fan of detailed and immersive space games. After many months of playing Star Citizen, it's time for a more retrospective review of this remarkable game. After playing for a considerable period of time, does the game lose its shine, or does it simply become even more compelling? The Star Citizen requires quite the investment of time, energy and concentration to approach it. It's an absolute behemoth in the space game genre, a game whose scope, range, complexity and detail is pretty much unparalleled. Ensuring your PC can run the game is an early consideration, as Star Citizen is pretty demanding. Despite this, a mid-range PC is more than capable of running the game and running it well, with key optimizations made. Chief amongst these is the amount of memory available. 32GB is very much recommended. The Star Citizen community provides some excellent advice in terms of how to set up your PC for best effectiveness, and any new player would be well advised to take note. Another major asset to the new player experience is the free fly events, allowing potential players to try out the game without having to pay anything in advance to see if it's for them. Whilst this does tend to overload the servers to a degree, resulting in some reduced performance, it's an admirable way to offset any objections to the cost of accessing the game. On that point, it is very much not necessary to spend much money to enjoy the complete Star Citizen experience. At the time of composition of this video, the cheapest startership pledge, and note you're technically not buying a completed game here, is $45. This gives you access to everything that is in the game in terms of gameplay mechanics, and there is no need to buy a more expensive ship unless you wish to do so, though there certainly is the option to spend quite a lot of real money for a virtual spacecraft. The bigger spacecraft can be earned in-game by carrying out tasks and missions for the in-game currency. The only caveat here is that, due to its alpha state, personal progress can and has been reset in the past, which means only the assets you've paid for, with real money, are guaranteed to be permanent at this time. Potential players should ensure they understand these limitations prior to committing to Star Citizen. Star Citizen's environment is very much a high-tech science fiction universe in the gritty realism vogue of TV shows and films like The Expanse and Firefly. Humanity has reached for the stars in a big way, but taken most of its problems along for the ride. Thus the player can expect to encounter violence and conflict in many locales. This is familiar territory for space games, and the inspiration for Star Citizen can be clearly seen in prior art such as the Wing Commander series and titles such as Freelancer. Where Star Citizen breaks the mould is in the execution. The universe of Star Citizen is not a series of component parts hooked together by barely hidden loading screens, nor is it a series of cookie-cutter locales repeated ad nauseum in different places with minor variations. The Star Citizen universe is, far more than any other space game, a genuine place in which the player finds themselves. In terms of the overused word immersion, Star Citizen pushes the benchmark far beyond the reach of any other space game thus far. The sheer scale of this is hard to convey without taking any prospective player on a lengthy tour. Suffice to say that the locales are huge, unique, and are crafted with astonishing care and attention to detail both large and small. Some environments have a utopian feel, with shiny polished surfaces and a curvilinear architecture showcasing the high-tech and high-cost nature of those worlds. By contrast, some places are starkly oppressive, with hard angles, a deliberate lack of aesthetics, and a layer of grime and usage indicating the type of clientele that live there. In between these extremes are diverse cityscapes, floating megastructures, ice-bound communities, planets with dense pollution, and a panoply of vast and convincingly realised space stations. Whilst the Star Citizen universe is currently limited to a single star system, though there is another due and more have been promised in the future, there is more variety to see here than can be found in the ubiquity of some procedurally generated environments. The detail in these locales is an order of magnitude greater than any other space game thus far. Rather than the generic departure lounge, landing pad or shopping mall areas reused over and over again with minor variations on lighting and decoration, in Star Citizen there is no sense of the typical limitation of assets being reused again. Players will encounter a diverse range of bars, shops, promenades, parks, various different internal transit systems, exhibitions, medical facilities, equipment manufacturers, mines and prisons, alongside the aforementioned landing pads and spaceports. All of these are lovingly crafted to exhibit a sense of realism and atmosphere, each exuding a sense of place that is extremely memorable. From the seedy bars of grim Hex, to the viewing gallery of the Microtech spaceport, the polluted industrial complex of Lawville, and the curated parks of the floating cloud city of Orison, each environment is starkly different to the last, with detail right down to unique doors, plants, decoration, floor tiling, switches, and often very mundane mechanisms such as showers, cubicles, and cooking utensils. Crucially, the environments aren't static either. You will encounter the obvious NPCs moving around, occasionally doing some odd things due to glitches in their code, but at a bigger level you'll see container ships moving to and fro, other vessels arriving and departing. Even the transit system can be seen to be operating, and if you miss your train, another will be along in a moment. The transport system, allowing the player to move quickly around the ground-based installations of the Star Citizen universe, is perhaps the ideal vehicle to explain the key fundamental underpinning of Star Citizen that lifts it far above all other space games to date, something that has been dubbed physicalization. Simply put, everything in Star Citizen exists in the game world. The train you catch is not a loading screen between locales. It's a physical container which moves around the game world regardless of whether or not any players are using it. As such, if you board such a train, another player can see you depart or arrive in it, and, if they have a sufficiently fast craft, fly alongside you in their spaceship and see you within the compartment. In another example, it's possible to walk or drive, using the in-game vehicles, between the locales that are served by the rapid transport systems. It takes a while, but it is actually possible. This affords dynamic gameplay opportunities that no other game can realise. There is more than one way to do something. Additionally, you aren't limited to the handcrafted locales. All of the surface areas of the planets within Star Citizen can be visited at player whim. You can go where you like, land where you like, and explore where you like. This approach to realism extends to everything in the Star Citizen universe. Packages can be physically picked up and stored aboard vehicles. Some vehicles can be parked within other vehicles and transported around. Players can make choices between what they carry not just based on a simple stats in a menu, but in actual physical space. As a result, Star Citizen has no peers at the present time in regards to the sense of being in the science fiction universe the player inhabits. Walking around the various environments is compelling in of itself. Often there are ships on display in showrooms inviting prospective customers aboard. And this brings us to another major draw of Star Citizen, the interior of spaceships. Many games have put us in the cockpit of a spacecraft before now, but none have really allowed us to climb aboard via a ladder, an airlock, or a rear cargo bay hatch into a genuine interior space. The ships in Star Citizen are actual physical places with cargo bays, cockpits, recreation areas, bunks, common rooms, engineering spaces and various compartments. Players can move around in these spaces at any time, even when the ship is in flight or in dock, again providing a unique sense of being in the game universe, unparalleled in any other space title. Some ships even have large panoramic windows, comfy seats or conference rooms from which the players can enjoy the vistas of the Star Citizen universe. And the vistas are there. Star Citizen features a few barren and lifeless surfaces, the MVP of the space game genre. But more often than not there's atmosphere, weather, which is often pretty extreme, and a functioning ecology and geology too. Crucially, Star Citizen moves on from the desert planet, ice planet trope. The worlds in Star Citizen have different biomes depending on the latitude and altitude at which you land. What might be temperate at the equator becomes an icy wilderness at the poles. Players can visit rich and majestic savannas, ice-locked mountains, polluted industrial wildernesses, volcanic mesas, oceans, and there's even a river in the latest update. All the basic gameplay features one would expect are present, if still in a nascent state in some areas. Space combat, piracy, trading, mission running, reconnaissance are all present, some with voice-acted comms to add to the experience. These missions immediately become more involved due to the physicalization mentioned above. Need to deliver a package? It's not just a button click on a menu. You actually have to pick up the package, put it somewhere on your ship, fly somewhere, and then deliver it. The sheer scale of Star Citizen is overwhelming at the outset. There are a lot of skills to acquire and the learning curve is pretty steep. Ships, controls, your inventory all have complexity associated with them. You have to interact with things in person a lot of the time. But this all adds depth to the gameplay over time. This is where the community around the game comes to your aid, with dozens of veterans happy to assist new players in becoming acclimatized. The multiplayer aspect of the game is also a big draw. Star Citizen does not have modes in which players can choose not to interact with others. The universe is what it is, and thus players have to exercise due caution at all times. If you prefer a single-player environment, this is perhaps not the best game for you. But Star Citizen rewards cooperative gameplay better than most space games. Players can escort other ships, take ships with different roles to fulfill tasks, and share the rewards of missions. With ship interiors, some players can pilot the vessel and provide air cover to other players who are aboard, kitted out with personal weaponry to conduct a ground assault. And by contrast, you can arrange to have another player fly your ship, whilst you relax in the bar. The possibilities are endless. With all this complexity and possibility comes the key issue with Star Citizen as it stands today. There are bugs, some of which can throw a major wrench into your gameplay, undoing all the work you've put into that session. Some are more minor irritants requiring a relog into the game universe. NPCs will often display bizarre behaviour, and ships may behave erratically for no obvious reason. The game is an alpha, and it's been a long time in gestation. It's a decade now since development began. Many more features are planned, but the roadmap to those features has been decidedly fluid at times. Potential players are well advised to take a good, long, hard look at whether they're prepared to accept the downsides to venturing into the Star Citizen universe. Yet, after many months of playing this game, it's clear there is literally nothing like this elsewhere. Other games feel narrow and confined by comparison. If you're a true fan of immersive space games, there is nothing that can touch Star Citizen's scope, execution, flair, or attention to detail. Once you've experienced walking around within your own vessel whilst travelling between planets, or unloading a land vehicle from your cargo bay to go exploring, having brought your ship down from orbit, or just ordering a well-deserved beer at one of the many space bars, no other space game comes even close. Star Citizen truly is what it claims to be, a first-person universe to inhabit.